Okay, so let's go over chapter 1 questions. If we look, number 1 says, Mr. Jones, representative of the human race, is dismissed in a paragraph. Quote the words and phrases which condemn him and by implication people generally. So if we look at the page 3, chapter 1, it says, Mr. Jones of the Manor Farm had locked the hen houses for the night, but was too drunk to remember to shut the potholes. With the ring of light from his lantern dancing from side to side, he lurched across the yard, kicked off his boots at the back door, drew himself a last glass of beer from the barrel in the scullery, and made his way up to bed where Mrs. Jones was already snoring. So the answer that I came up with, Orwell uses words like too drunk and phrases that describe him and his wife as clumsy or unpleasant, right? Dancing from side to side, lurched across the yard, already snoring, right? So I put that in quotations to show that the human race are unlikable, useless beings, right? Too drunk to remember things, etc. Number 2, quote the 3 words that especially establish Old Major's position and authority. So there's a few things, if you look on page 4, he was 12 years old, and I wanted to make sure that I put that in because I think that does help establish his position and authority. He's older than a lot of the other animals there. But there's also 3 words like majestic looking, wise, benevolent appearance that I think also help to establish his position and authority that, really set him apart. Number 3, how are Boxer and Clover established as caring animals? Boxer and Clover, when you see them on page 4, they came in together walking very slowly and setting down their vast hairy hoofs with great care, lest there should be some small animal concealed in the straw. And they even described Clover as a stout, motherly mare approaching middle life. So being described as motherly can also be described as being, in a caring way. So I said Boxer and Clover are established as caring animals because they are described as being careful when entering the barn so as not to step on any small animals. And then also you can see on page 5 that Clover also made a wall with her body around the small ducklings who had lost their mother. That's on the bottom of page 5. The 2 horses had just lain down when a brood of ducklings which had lost their mother filed into the barn, cheeping feebly and wandering from side to side to find some place where they had not been trodden on. Clover made a sort of wall round them with her great foreleg, and the ducklings nestled down inside it and promptly fell asleep. So that's another way that Clover is established as a caring animal. Number 4, even though he describes them as animals, Orwell also gives them human characteristics. Quote the amusing example of personification he uses for Molly. So if you look at the bottom of page 5 and going into page 6, it says, Molly the foolish, pretty mare. So already he directly characterizes her as foolish, which is how I put her there. Molly is a foolish mare. And then I chose the quote that describes her as flirting her white mane, hoping to draw attention to the red ribbons it was plaited with. Right? You can just almost kind of see her dancing around, kind of trying to flirt with her, flirt around the barn with these red ribbons in her hair, chumping on this lump of sugar. Really characterizes her as kind of dumb and full of herself and kind of silly. Number 5, Benjamin is described as cynical on page, let's see, where are we? Where Benjamin is described, I think it's page 5. Yes, page 5, Benjamin is described as cynical. What does this mean and what is cynical about Benjamin? So, on page 5 it says, he seldom talked, and when he did, it was usually to make some cynical remark. For instance, he would say that God had given him a tail to keep the flies off, but that he would sooner have had no tail and no flies. Alone among the animals on the farm, he never laughed. If asked why, he would say that he saw nothing to laugh at. So I said cynical means being distrustful of other people's sincerity or intentions. And Benjamin tends to stick to himself and even questions God's positive purpose for his tale. Usually, it could be seen as a positive purpose because it's meant to keep the flies away, but he says, I would rather just not have any tail and no flies. Number 6, what is the purpose of Old Major's speech and how do you know? Old Major's purpose for his speech is to convince the other animals to detest and question man or men and to rebel against him when the time comes. We know this because Old Major uses strong, emotionally evocative language in his speech and has a clear call to action. We see that so often, really emotionally evocative in here, lots of pathos, and it's very clear that he wants him to rebel. He says things like rebellion, rebellion, and man is evil, and the tyranny of human beings, only get rid of man, and the produce of our labor would be our own. We lead these miserable lives. We need to be free. And we should not adapt man's vices. He has a very clear call to action. Number 7, what are the hopes expressed in Old Major's song, Beasts of England? That is on pages 12 and 13. The hopes expressed in Old Major's song include being free from man's tyranny. That's second stanza, second line, right? Tyrant man shall be overthrown. And a golden future time full of freedom for the animals, right? We see that in the refrain, where the fourth line of the refrain of the golden future time. And we also see freedom, the word freedom, in the 6th stanza, 4th line, where it says, all must toil for freedom's sake. So we see these ideas of free from tyrant man, freedom, and this golden future time. Number 8, why does the song have a catchy tune and why is the song important? This song is going to show up over and over and over again in this novel. So it's an important song because it needs to be, it's going to be their rally song. It has a catchy tune because it is meant to unify the animals. It's supposed to be easily remembered so that they can sing it over and over again as their rally song. And it's important because it expresses the key ideals of Old Major's beliefs. You're going to see that possibly this song will change or be modified later on in this novel, and we'll see how and why. But this original Beast of England does express the key ideals of Old Major's beliefs. What is the mood of the meeting? And cite evidence to support your claims. The mood of this meeting is very serious and resolute. The reader knows this because of strong claims made by Old Major, such as he says rebellion, and he, with an exclamation point, very excited and serious. He also says the life of an animal is misery and slavery. That is the plain truth, right? Very matter of fact, very resolute. And, quote, whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy, whatever goes upon 4 legs or has wings is a friend. Very serious tone there. What important rules does Old Major give the animals at the end of his speech? And these can be found on page 11, and I just listed them out here. 1, whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy, whatever goes upon 4 legs or has wings is a friend. 2, no animal must ever live in a house. 3, no animal must ever sleep in a bed. 4, no animal must ever wear clothes. 5, no animal must ever drink alcohol. 6, no animal must ever smoke tobacco. 7, no animal must ever touch money. 8, no animal must ever engage in trade. 9, no animal must ever tyrannize over his own kind. 10, no animal must ever kill any other animal. And 11, all animals are equal. So these were some of I think these are the major outline, the major important rules that he outlines in the end of his speech there. So that pretty much covers chapter 1. Yep, that's it. Thank you.